Powerful insights often occur when you least expect them. On Transformative Leadership Conversations, they're at the heart of every episode. Hi, I'm your host, Winnie Da Silva, and together we're exploring a spectrum of leadership themes through the compelling stories and insights of seasoned leaders and prominent experts. So in each episode, you'll walk away with inspiration, strategies, and tools to enhance your leadership skills, build effective teams, and lead thriving organizations. Today, I'm excited to welcome Dr. Gwendolyn Freed, who is the newly appointed president of the Minneapolis College of Art and Design, also known as MCAD. Gwen brings to this role really a remarkable blend of experience from higher education, nonprofit leadership, journalism, and the arts. And her career has been anything but linear, spanning from staff writer at the Star Tribune to vice president of Gustav Adolphus College to executive director of Wallen Education Partners, then to interim chief development officer at Second Harvest Heartland, and then more recently, leadership roles at the University of Minnesota, where she also taught at both the Humphrey School of Public Affairs and the College of Continuing Arts and Professional Studies. So, with advanced degrees in public education, public affairs, and education policy, along with a master's degree from Juilliard and an undergraduate degree from Oberlin Conservatory, Gwen embodies the intersection of creative scholarship and leadership across all kinds of dimensions. And in this conversation, Gwen shares, what it's like to step into the presidency at such a pivotal moment in higher education and the arts. We talk about the challenges and opportunities of leading in a time of political and cultural pressure, and the role of institutional identity and stakeholder engagement, and also how creativity and hope continue to drive her vision for MCAD's future. Take a listen. Gwen Freed, I'm so excited that you're here. I'm really excited to talk to you because I feel like, this time that we're in is really, a lot is going on with higher education. And you yourself had held roles in higher education, not-for-profit. You had this interesting mix, which fits perfectly in your role now of, obviously higher education, but also in music and in arts. And now you've just literally recently become the president of MCAD, which is the Minneapolis College of Arts and Design. Maybe we can just even start there because transitioning into a new presidency role is, really exciting, really daunting, again, especially now with everything that's going on. How's it going? What surprised you about the role maybe so far? How's it been?
Oh, well, thank you, Winnie, for having me on with you this morning. I've been looking forward to our conversations.
Me too.
And I appreciate your podcast with other leaders talking about all different domains of life, but some common threads that you're picking up and insights about how we can effectively influence and support people towards common good. To your question about being new as president of MCAD, I couldn't be more thrilled. It is an absolutely wonderful institution, and it's a joy to come to work every day. I'm really proud of our college. We are among America's leading colleges of art and design. We're really known for our innovative approaches to preparing students for their careers. And our alumni have been so successful as artists, creative directors at large companies and makers with their own independent practices. And our faculty are practicing artists. So students here are in the real world from the minute they arrive on campus.
Wow.
And I just have really enjoyed the culture here. It's a close-knit community, super supportive. There's a spiritedness and openness, and willingness to explore and experiment. And so I have really felt very much at home here, and people have been super, super welcoming to me. I'm now starting my fourth month here in the role. And so I've now visited with enough students and alumni and parents and donors and such. And one of my favorite experiences with that is when people tell me how MCAT has changed their life or changed the life of the student and their family or had a huge impact on the community that people really care about. So, yeah, I'm in a very happy place and very excited. Some surprises transitioning into a presidency after my various other roles. Um, I think, it was recently, comparing notes with other new presidents at a seminar for folks entering this kind of role for the first time, and one of the things that I felt was a common thread as we talked about it is, in this role, people see your, presidency walk into the room. They it's not about you, it's about your role and your responsibility, and I think it's a humbling, experience, and it's something that helps you to, keep in mind that you're carrying, the institution's interests and that you're trying to set a tone for the place, so that's kind of a mindset that I have found very helpful.
That's so interesting. First of all, it must have been super helpful to be part of that seminar that you were just talking to other people who are going through what you're going through, right? The leaders that I've worked with, but I just know that being a leader can be really lonely, especially, stepping into a new leadership role. It can be daunting and, it can be lonely. So that's amazing that you're already connecting with people similar to what you've been going through. But I love your comment because I feel like this is so powerful. So many times we take personally, kind of what's happening and how people are responding to us. You've got your robe back there, your graduate, but I'm just imagining you wearing that, and it's like you're wearing like I mean, in a good way, but you're wearing MCAD on you, as you walk into
Yeah,
the room.
that's right, that's right. Related to that, I had a couple mentors of mine say things that really stuck with me around this general theme, which is one of these mentors who had a leadership role in a big corporation and then had a major role in city government. He said, never try to meet your ego needs at work. You know,
Great one. Yes.
kind of bring it down and more and then the other mentor said, in leadership positions, people never love you or hate you as much as you think they do."
Yes. Exactly, exactly. Those are 2 really good quotes to
Those are
remember.
some things I keep in mind, in this new role.
Because it's true, and I kind of imagine especially I mean, I don't know, and I feel like I should know this. How long has MCAD been around? When did it start?
Since 1886.
Whoa!
Yeah, that's a long history, a proud history, and as coming into this role, I'm thinking about the long history going forward,
Yes.
Before long, we'll be in our sesquicentennial celebration.
Holy cow. So that robe is even heavier than most. You know what I mean? Because you're bringing in, like, history, and even though obviously it's not you haven't been following the same history throughout, but it's like that, that cachet of longevity, I feel like.
Mhm, mhm.
I guess because you have had such a really interesting career, as, a higher education administrator where you are now, like, what drew you initially to higher ed from where you were before? Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Thanks. I entered higher education leadership in my early mid-career, and I came directly or fairly directly from a long career in journalism. After some transition. And what drew me to higher education is the kind of complexity of the field, the fact that it's a highly consequential arena that when you think about it, we look to colleges and universities to cure diseases and solve social problems and help people develop critical and creative skills in fields like art and design and so, I just found it really fascinating. I also, was attracted to the great variety of stakeholders to higher education. I mean, in this country, everybody wants and deserves something from higher education, and everyone who wants to take part should have access to higher education. So, early on in my higher ed career, access became one of my top priorities.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, I just feel like that was so well said. And really captures the breadth of kind of why you would wanna go. But I am kinda curious, like, can you say a little bit more about the constituencies? Because I feel like that's probably maybe the hardest part of your job is managing all those constituencies, and I think, honestly, even leaders in the corporate world, they may not even have as many constituencies as you have to deal with and so broad, but still, I think that's one of the harder parts of leadership. So maybe you could talk a little bit more about that.
True, and I think of it as serving the constituencies and valuing them and making sure to, seek out and act on the feedback that they have to provide and the insight that they share. So some of the many stakeholders at a private college like ours would obviously include students, parents, alumni, administrative staff, full-time faculty, adjunct faculty, the local community, the field more broadly,
Sure. Yeah.
and those are just a few. And I think it's really important to listen to all of those different stakeholders and open space for them to be involved. I don't know if I included board members. Obviously, those are huge things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Former board members and former faculty members, the whole and prospective students, right? We wanna be anticipate their needs and provide the type of programs that would be most useful and meaningful to them. So, it's, really important to engage with stakeholders, understand what their criteria are for success, and to meaningfully engage with them. So, not just sort of have um, surveys and listening sessions, do nothing. It's really important to um, have all of those rich variety of voices and interests inform the work that you do.
So, but why does that attract you? Like, because again, I feel like that's the hardest part. Like, what about that feels, challenging or exciting to you or compelling? If that's true. It sounds like it's true, but
It's funny you ask. I find that like one of the most stimulating sides of my daily work here. But I think going deeper, when my particular area of research interest, one of them in higher ed as a sort of higher ed scholar, is institutional identity in higher education. So, what are the central enduring qualities and capacities that make a campus unique? And I think that all of those who can claim a stake in your college have some piece of that. And so it's really important, both tangibly and intangibly, to be open and dynamically involved with all the stakeholders for that reason. It's part of your vitality as an institution.
yeah, because I feel like what you're saying is, you don't have a solid, or secure identity if you are not including all the stakeholders that really contribute to it.
Very well said.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. Okay. Yeah, and again, I can see parallels to the corporate world too. If and kind of like, I don't know if people would talk about the identity of a business, but you would talk about the culture. Do you feel like those are different? Anyway, I'm just kinda curious. Like, do you see that as being different?
There's overlap, and ideally it all aligns with your stated mission and values, and your vision. But I think when we talk about organizational identity, in a college or university, specifically in the US, I think that there are elements of what is the we? When we talk about we, what does that mean? What are the things that kind of bring us together and that help us to stand out in the diverse landscape of institutions?
Okay, so I kinda said this at the beginning, but higher education leadership, is especially fraught right now. Um, Political pressures, talk about culture, a lot of I don't know if this is even the right way to say it, but projection of kind of the culture wars onto higher education and reflecting that back. There's a lot of back and forth around that. There's a lot of financial instability, kind of as a result of all this. I mean, I feel like, um, you know, maybe for big places like Harvard where they have billion-dollar, endowments, but not every college and university is like that, right? So I think financial instability or stability is always an issue, but maybe especially now given all this stuff. So how are you and how can maybe other leaders in higher education how do you navigate all this stuff? Tell me about your perspective on that.
Mm. And as a side note, it's interesting that you reference Harvard because they've been in the news so much, with their issues with, current administration. Yeah, definitely true that these are historically challenging times, and, not just for higher ed, but also for arts and culture and the ways that they overlap. Um, yeah, and I feel like you really can't go far wrong if you stay grounded in your mission. Right? So for us, it's to provide a transformative education within a community of support for creative students of all backgrounds to work and collaborate and lead with confidence in a dynamic, interconnected world. So we really stay true to that, and then with specific policy issues, it's such a rapidly shifting environment that I think number one, it's incumbent upon leaders and boards and senior teams and so on to stay very much on top of what's happening and where appropriate to a particular policy issue to look for avenues to join voices with others. Example, I've been a signatory on a couple of different, kinda advocacy statements, with other private college presidents, for example, when the Big Beautiful Bill was under consideration, uh, and, we just have to, like I said, stay on top of what's going on. We know the education secretary has been rolling out, things such as there'll be a requirement that colleges provide annual admissions and enrollment data disaggregated by race and gender. Um, this is similar to some of the requirements that we've seen at some of the larger, high profile private institutions. We are looking at changes in the interpretation of race based discrimination and there's gonna probably be some changes around accreditation for some parts of the country. And, we're just really trying to monitor, the potential impacts of some of these things. And of course, we've seen the cuts to the Department of Education. So even all the other things notwithstanding, we hope that there'll be enough personnel to administer things like Pell Grants that are so important to students. And then, you're right that, colleges and universities are facing more financial pressures than in recent memory, and this is due to a variety of factors, and some of them are institution specific. But I'm really proud to serve MCAD, where they have always been very, good stewards on the financial side. And so where I'm gonna focus is building our fundraising base to help grow our endowment and provide current use funding for so many of our wonderful programs. So that's I think a lot of institutions are doing that right now, and donors have really stepped up.
I mean, it strikes me in just hearing you talk just now, it's like when you were first talking, I felt like, I'm just swimming in like the sea of uncertainty and change and like, a million sort of, snowballs being thrown at me and I'm like, trying to dodge them and all that. But then you sort of pivoted to saying things that were really hopeful. And not only that, but, like, I also feel like you're doing a great job of, like, identifying where you can control and where you can't control.
Yes, that's right.
So, are those things true in terms of what I
Yes,
just
thank you. That's my daily mantra, as a matter of fact. I think that's really important. And especially now, there's so much going on in the broader world of arts and culture. And as we again tie back to the current administration, we see what's going on with the Kennedy Center and the Smithsonian. And, you know, um, the National Endowment for Humanities, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting shutting down, so we have a lot going on in our world right now, and I think museums, and this is very much related to our mission. Museums are very nervous right now in many parts of the country, and naturally, students going into arts and culture fields are concerned and are monitoring the environment, and we just really need to support them and try to stay grounded with them, and continue to focus on the work, right, which will continue and will continue beyond this current year.
It's interesting that I honestly didn't quite make the connection, but you're right between the kind of college you are and I mean, because and it's almost like you have a double whammy going on, right? Because, even if you weren't all colleges and universities are going through the list of things that we've just gone through, right? But then you're right, added to that, the fact that you are an arts and design school, and the potential upheaval, and I'm gonna say it like fear, of feeling like you can't create or design in ways that you want to. I don't know, it feels like there's potential restrictions coming down, again, given what you've just named in terms of museums, the Smithsonian, Kennedy Center, those sort of things that are happening. That's gonna impact you and your students.
Possibly, possibly, and at the same time, I think it's really important for, folks in leadership to, always keep in mind that people are coming from whatever their own, particular individual political perspectives, and values and aspirations for the arts, and, people have different, ideas about all of that, and so, it's I just try to keep a broad frame in mind, and I seek to engage with folks about hopeful futures in art and design and the importance of the work, um, keeping all of that in mind.
With that, maybe we can double down on the hope. Can you say a little bit more, what hope you do have and kind of what drives you broadly across higher ed, but then also for you and the role that you have at MCAD?
Well, the number one thing that gives me hope is the students.
Okay. So why? Like, tell
Oh
me
my
more.
gosh, their work is so incredible, and their energy and vitality. And one of the things that, we talk about what moment are we in? We are sufficiently far beyond COVID that I think we're really starting to see a new energy and life in the students. And lots of folks have commented on that, and both at MCAT and beyond that it's just really nice to see the campus come to life, to be in person and all that good stuff, and I just feel like students today, talk about, the current generation and so on, and that they are really very authentic. They really, are willing to speak up and get involved, and they really care about their overall well-being. These are wonderful things that very much inspire me, and as I think about it in contrast to, like, my own generation growing up, I just think these students are really fantastic.
I mean, my opinion, it's always great to be around different generations anyway, but the fact that that's kind of, your main constituency, but that's really encouraging. Yeah, really encouraging. Any other places that you see hope or anything else that comes to mind for you?
Go. I just feel like we're all continuously learning, and even when, from various perspectives, there are challenges in our environment and uncertainty in our environment, and it's not just, you talked about, federal policy, but there are so many other dynamics going on that make this, a little bit of a hinge time, and with some unknowns. I mean, we think about AI is a great example, both in the arts, and culture and in higher education. So these are times in which I think we can, approach our world as in continuous learning mode. And how some things that are sometimes framed with a certain feeling of doom are actually a great there's great possibilities associated, and with the end of old ways comes some exciting new ways. And so I think it's important to stay grounded in reality and where we are right now, and constantly look at possibility.
Yeah. Anything more you want to say on AI? In particular, being a creator, I guess it's relevant for everybody, but more so even, right, for the realm you're in.
Yeah. Right, great question. And I also co-teach a course at the university this term, and you bring to mind the fact that in developing the syllabus, for these grad students, it's the first thing that often comes to mind is where you won't allow AI, right? You know, not allowed here, it's not allowed here. But where I'm excited about the work of many of our faculty and people in the creative fields is ways that you can harness AI for original, exciting work, and in ways that we can equip our students with the tools and techniques that they're going to need to be successful. That's always our goal, and so we are centering AI in some ways to try to understand best, how to make sure our students are prepared to succeed in all ways, including where AI fits or does not fit in their future work.
Nice. So it sounds well balanced, right? So it doesn't belong everywhere, but it does belong in some places. And so let's figure that out together, that where that middle path is. So, we've been talking a little bit in parallel with, higher education and, anyone else who's listening right now who's not in higher ed, but who is a leader. Can you maybe provide some insight or advice or, lessons that you've learned that you think really transcend higher education leadership that others can learn from?
Yes, thank you. I do think there are some lessons that go beyond my specific field. And one of them for me has been going outside my comfort zone. As I think about sort of defining moments in my career trajectory that have helped propel me forward, it's always those times when I have stretched and said yes to an opportunity that, in some ways, very scary and uncomfortable, a new domain, a new sector, a new role, a new function. These are the places where I feel like I have grown the most. And early on in my higher ed career, I really set intention to not do so much of a career ladder as kind of a career jungle gym or an obstacle course. I knew that partly because the world around higher ed is so complex and demanding, I just felt it was important to learn different functional areas of leadership, and also work in different types of institutions, so not just private colleges, but also the public university context. Um, certain niches I've been in, like once I was vice president at a wonderful Lutheran college. Art and design schools are another type of special college. So I just have found it infinitely valuable to sort of develop the adaptability, curiosity, and confidence to step into different environments with different outcome goals, different cultures. Um, you know, it's just really helped me feel comfortable here because I feel like I bring all that with me, and so I see different vice presidents that work with me, and I feel like I know their areas a little more than I would otherwise.
Sure, sure. So yeah, so that confidence, the ability to be in other people's shoes. I imagine that you have like multiple, perspectives of vision around a particular topic or something that or a problem that you're solving because you've had those other experiences.
Yeah. So definitely going outside the comfort zone. I would also say some lessons for me have been the importance of earning trust, right? And understanding what folks need to feel trust. And then being consistent for sure, sharing credit, really shining a bright light on others. So those are some of the things that I have found helpful that I think, translate beyond post-secondary education.
Yeah, for sure. And like, I guess for you personally, what sort of grounds you? I mean, because again, you've just started this job. You know, there's a lot going on in the world, in your industry in the world. Like, for you personally as a leader, what gets you through, and we've touched on a bunch, right? So, certainly the students, and that freshness and hope, probably gets you going. But what are some other things that sort of ground you today?
I'd say number 1 is that the awareness that I'm contributing to something much larger than myself, larger than this institution or this community. So, it helps to kinda elevate my awareness.
Yeah, seeing the bigger picture.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
yeah,
Trying to be a force for good.
yeah. Well, and it's interesting too because when I think about art, I'm not an artist and I didn't go to art school. But there's something that, is has so much longevity, in art, because it's something you make and it exists potentially forever. I mean, not forever, but you know what I mean? Like, it exists for a long time. And so, I don't know, I just imagine that that's part of that bigger picture for you too.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and one of my favorite things here is when I get to stand in front of a piece of work with a student who created it or faculty member or staff member. We have incredibly talented administrative staff here. We had a whole show of their work. But to talk to folks who have this incredible generative creative talent and ask them, we'll be looking at something together and I'll say, tell me about this. Oh, I just love that. I just love it. It's incredible, and we need people who are creative in this world. They bring a humanity that a lot of people don't always bring. They're creating out of nothing. They start with a blank slate and they're off and running. They're incredibly resourceful. They're flexible. They have a certain confidence. They're so interdirected in a way that just boggles my mind. They're very persistent. They're curious and they tell stories around what they do, and their work tells stories, and they collaborate. And one of the things that I just find so impressive and inspiring is that many creatives just think differently. I have to admit, I'm a linear plotter, okay? And just the dimensions of understanding and openness that creative people bring I feel it in the way the institution, not just the artistic output and the education going on, but, also too how the institution and the people within it, uh, make decisions and and propel forward.
Yeah, that's awesome. Gwen, do you have a particular type of art that you like the best? Like ceramics,
N
painting, like
no, no, I'm an omnivore for sure.
you can't pick.
Uh-huh.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I know that you were super busy running this, college, and, I'm really excited for the work that you're doing, in the world today, and I just thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Transformative Leadership Conversations. Please join me as we explore a new leadership theme every month. If you're ready to take your leadership to the next level or empower your teams for success, I'm here to help. Reach out to me directly at winnie@winifred.org or check out my website at www.winniedasilva.com to learn more about my work in coaching executives, developing critical leadership skills, and working with clients to build effective teams. You can always find me on Substack and LinkedIn. Whether you're engaging with me online, suggesting topics, or joining the conversation here on social media, your voice is a vital part of this podcast because you are always welcome to take a seat at the table where every conversation has the potential for transformative change.